Welcome to Box Alarm Trading. Today we'll dive into the legendary career of Anderson Silva. Here are 5 reasons why he should be in the GOAT argument, and stick around as I unveil my most recent Grail purchase, one of Silva's most coveted rookie cards. Number 5, he has the longest win streak in UFC history with 16 consecutive wins. This record was set in 2012 and hasn't been touched since. Islam Makhachev is the only active fighter close to this record with 14 and has a chance to break it within the next few years. Number 4, he's tied for 4th all-time in title fight wins with 11. With only Jones, GSP, and Mighty Mouse above him in this category, Silva is in rare air. The only active fighters even remotely close are Stylebender and Bullet, who are both tied with 8. Number 3, he held the UFC middleweight championship from 2006 to 2013, establishing a record for the longest title reign in UFC history, which was 2,457 days. Number 2, not only was he winning at the highest level, but he was also doing it in spectacular fashion. He's number 3 all time in TKO and KOs with 11. He's 2nd of all time in knockdowns. And he is 7th all time for UFC finishes with 14. Anderson Silva knew how to make fights entertaining, and he was an incredibly fun champion. Number 1, he beat the best of the best during his champ era, including Rich Franklin twice, Chael Sonnen twice, Dan Henderson, Forrest Griffin, Vitor Belfort, and Stephan Bonner. So I think it's pretty unanimous that at this point, he's the best middleweight to ever do it. But in my opinion, I also think he should be in the GOAT conversation. So do you think Anderson did enough to be the best ever? And if not, where do you have him in your top 5? If he's even in your top 5. So because of all those reasons, and because when I first started watching UFC, I always kept seeing his highlights on UFC Unleashed. He was flashy, he was finishing guys left and right. So when I started collecting, I told myself I needed a nice Silva rookie, and I finally got it. So this is his 2006 Pride FC rookie card. Before he was tearing it up in the UFC, he was fighting in Pride, and this is his true rookie in a PSA 9. But before we get into the actual card cam, let's talk about Pride a little bit. I think that's really important because, you know, half of the coolness of this card is that it is a Pride card and not a UFC card. So Pride was established in 1997 and, you know, became a major player in the MMA world, particularly in Asia. So kind of like ONE FC right now, but it was even bigger than ONE FC comparatively. So it featured some of the best fighters from around the globe and was even the original fighting league for some of the huge names that we know in the MMA and UFC world. You know, you had the Axe Murderer, Wanderlei Silva, Crow Cop, Rampage, Mark Hunt, Josh Barnett, Overeem, Dan Henderson, Jens Pulver, and, you know, the guy we're talking about today, Anderson the Spider Silva. And Pride was not like Bellator. Pride was not like PFL. At one point, Pride had gained a significant following and was like neck and neck competing with the UFC. I know that's hard to imagine now because the UFC has like a chokehold, pun intended, on the MMA world. But at this time, it was very competitive between the two companies. Okay, now back to the star of this video, the 2006 Pride Anderson Silva rookie. And we have it here. And this is a card that I've had my eye on for a long time. And I think this is just absolutely an insane design. The Japanese lettering coming across here, the black background. You've got a good action shot of Silva throwing a strike. I think it is a really, really iconic card. And every time I saw one of these online, I was just like, dude, I gotta have one. And I'd been watching this for a while, kind of trying to check comps, kind of trying to see what auctions would end up like to see kind of where the price range that I wanted to pay for this. And I finally pulled the trigger on one. And it is a PSA 9. And like I was saying earlier, this is 2006 Pride. So this even predates the 2009 Topps Round 1 cards. And I think that's really important whenever we're talking about, you know, collectability or history. And, you know, this has both. This has a lot of history in it and a lot of collectability. And obviously it's a good design and it's vertical. So I think it just has a lot of really, really promising things going for it. A really cool, really fun card to add to my collection. Here's the back as well. Kind of just like a reverse imaging with the colors. You got the little lightning bolt. Number 3, Anderson Silva. I guess it was, must have been fighting in 2004 in this particular match. We got all the Japanese lettering that I can't read at all. But this card's also very clean, man. Very, very clean. I don't really like it in the PSA red, and I really wanted to get this in a SGC Tux, but you know, this was the one that I could find. Thought it was a pretty good deal. A couple comps that I was looking at, we had a comp for a BGS 8.5 that went for $410. Then we had a recently sold PSA 9 of the same card that went for $600. Was able to talk the guy down a little bit. Got this for $500, so I thought it was about in the range that it should be for this card. And in 2006, the official, you know, like Pride MMA trading cards were released, and they were produced by a card company, Cards Distribution, which I guess has done a lot of other different cards. So it's not like, you know, they're just a random company. I think they did football and some other different sports as well. And just for some of the rarity of this card, for PSA, there was 15 9s and 20 10s. For BGS, there was 2 9s and 11 9.5s. And for SGC, there was 3 9s, 2 9.5s, and 1 10. And I know the guy who has the 10 in his D-Gen rips, and it's an absolutely beautiful card. But in total, it's a pop 15 within PSA, and across all those grading platforms, there are only 34 graded higher. So this is just, I mean, an absolute behemoth of a card in my collection. And to think that it was only 500 is pretty crazy to me. When you're talking about a guy that has the resume that he has, that is going to be remembered forever, and you have rookies that are selling for, you know, 4, 5, 6 times that, you know, 6 times that price in a card that's going to have probably a higher pop than this one that only has 34 graded. Now, I know that there's more than 34 of them out there, so that will probably continue to go up as, you know, people realize the value that, or potential value that is there in this card and in UFC cards. But I think it's a pretty good buy. It's really, really a nice design. I'm excited to have it in the display case behind me forever. And, you know, finally completed one of my grails with the Silva. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the UFC or you enjoy sports cards, you'll like my channel. So check out these videos over here and subscribe for future videos just like this.